everyone, it's Artina McCain, and I'm flying solo. This week's episode, we have Dr. Maya Stone. Maya is a freelance musician, a pedagogue, a bassoon, and an arts advocate. I can't wait to hear what she's going to share with you all today. Maya Stone, and she's a good friend of mine. I'm super excited to hear all the wonderful things you're going to tell us. Ooh, I need some cookies or something too this week.
The pressure.
Oh, well, hey. So Maya, each episode we've been interviewing people about their musical journey and how they got to where they were. Now, starting when you were a child, just tell us a little bit, the shortened version of how you got to where you are.
Shortened.
Cliff notes.
Yeah. I'll try. When I was young, my mom was a church musician, and my grandparents sang in the church, and my mom liked to sing. So I grew up singing and playing a little teeny tiny bit of piano because my mom taught me. Like just the basics, but we sang a lot in church, a lot. And so I grew up going to conferences and singing in church choirs and conference choirs, and that was a big part of what we did. Sometimes we would stand around the piano, and my mom would play the music that she had to prepare, and my sister and I would harmonize with her, and that was always a lot of fun. It's a really close memory to my heart. And so I grew up in upstate New York, Troy near Albany, and there they started music very early, and I remember starting in band in like 3rd or 4th grade, and we had an amazing band teacher, Mr. Russo, and I started off initially on the flute, but my sister is 5 years older than me.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know you played flute too.
I mean,
okay.
My sister is 5 years older than me, and she was already playing the flute, and she was really good. And I was like, why can't I play like she can? And I immediately switched to something else. So I switched to the clarinet and started playing the clarinet, and then eventually started taking private lessons with my band director's suggestion to my mom in middle school. And we knew someone else, another church pianist. My mom knew that played mostly by ear, but he was learning to play by reading, and he gave my mom this teacher's information. And it turned out that she was a fantastic woodwind specialist and a pianist and harpsichordist, and so eventually we were all taking lessons with her. Me, my sister, my mom.
Oh, wow.
And then I started taking lessons on other instruments with her too. So I started off initially on clarinet, then eventually added some piano and flute and oboe, and then the very last thing was bassoon. And I was in 11th grade, and she brought the bassoon out, and I had never seen one before, and I was like, what is this? And she said, a lot of times you can get scholarships in college for this instrument.
Maya, say that again.
Scholarships in
Okay,
college.
continue.
Yes. I didn't end up getting a scholarship for bassoon, but that was a good reason, to start, learning. So I started learning that, and then, it was so foreign to me, and even though I had a background in woodwinds, and, I played clarinet and did well with it, still it seemed so different, and I always felt like I was so behind. So, which I think looking back was a good thing. So eventually I auditioned, for colleges on both clarinet and bassoon, and ended up double majoring on both clarinet and bassoon in my undergrad, which is State University of New York at Potsdam, with studying with Frank Wengler, who is a great woodwind specialist, and had 2 lessons, a week, 1 hour each on one on clarinet, one on bassoon.
Wow.
Yeah, and played in ensembles and both, and so that was kind of like the beginning of all that.
What was to come?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it took a long time actually for me to really feel like I was a bassoonist. But I kind of embraced it more when I got to my master's program, Michigan State, with studying with Barry Stees, and I also did a woodwind specialist degree there as well.
See, I don't even know these degrees exist. As
I
a
know.
kid. I'm like, wow.
I didn't know either.
Know. Okay. So is that a performance degree or an education-based degree?
It's performance, basically,
All right.
but also focusing on the pedagogy of woodwinds, and which actually was very helpful for me in terms of like kind of wrapping my head around all that I was doing on these instruments and like how to function best, and on all of the instruments hopefully, but in particular my main instrument, because that's the one that I ended up focusing on mostly now.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. I learned something new. Woodwind specialty degree. So tell us a little bit about, so you told us about how you grew up and you got to becoming a bassoonist. So tell us a little bit about your professional career, like what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I ended up, after leaving my master's program, I ended up teaching in academia. So I was an academic.
Well, you skipped your doctorate degree.
Well, I didn't skip it actually.
Oh, not
I'm
yet.
gonna get
You're
there.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's how we met. Okay. That's the part I'm really waiting for. Continue.
So I started teaching kind of right away, and bassoon and oboe actually at the university for a very short period of time, and then ended up teaching mainly bassoon. And when you're teaching full time at universities, oftentimes, depending of course on what you're teaching, and if you're an applied teacher, you end up doing other things as well. So I wasn't just teaching bassoon, but I was teaching music appreciation and fundamentals of music, like a basic theory class, and chamber music, and reed making, and woodwind methods for music education majors. So you end up doing, like
a lot,
potentially a lot of other stuff too. So I was, in academia, and then toward my later years at one of the universities I taught at, I ended up going back to get my doctorate, which was basically a prerequisite of staying in the position, and I decided to study with Christine Jensen at University of Texas at Austin, which was
This is the moment. Come on, hook 'em horns. Come on, Mike.
Oh yeah.
Every Longhorn has to do this on this show.
Oh yeah, hook 'em horns. Yeah.
You.
Yeah. So
You're not the only Longhorn that we'll have.
Good.
Yes.
So obviously, this is where
we
Artina and I met.
Well, we played together a little bit
Yes,
too.
and we had an opportunity to play together, which is fabulous. And thankfully, we've had an opportunity since then to play together, and I look forward to many more opportunities to come. But yeah, so UT Austin was great, and studying with Christine Jensen was great, and that kind of happened in the middle of my first long-term job, my only, I guess, long-term job. So after doing a residency at UT Austin, I went back to that position for a year, and then eventually left that position for another one-year position, academic teaching position, full-time, and then after that another academic position, full-time. And then after that, I decided, I think, it's time for me to do freelance, freelance, focused on the freelance career. I had applied for a couple of other academic jobs and had taken a couple of auditions that I had done well in, but nothing stuck. So I thought, this is a really good move for me. And I didn't want to stay in the position that I was currently in. So after having done academic work full-time for so long, and getting great experience, really, really valuable experience working with different types of people in different cultures, in different academic cultures, with different students in different studios, and also being able to go back to school after having taught for several years and feel that type of culture on the other side, not on the professor's side, was invaluable, really, and an opportunity to learn so much and grow as a musician and an individual, and throughout life.
I understand. I also did something similar. So,
yeah.
So you're a freelancer now.
Yes.
After a career in academia.
Yeah.
Now, some people would say that's very dangerous. That's not recommended, right?
Right.
A lot of people think, how can she make a living? I can hear them, all the things they're thinking as you're talking.
Right.
So, you're obviously doing very well. So tell about maybe the transition or what you enjoy about being a freelancer. Where are you playing? Tell us.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
I mean, she's playing everywhere. I'm jealous a little bit.
No. You do so much. You do way more than I do. What are you talking about? I love what I do. I'm having a good time. It's very different. I know a lot of academics, you yourself, who also, do a lot of performing and teaching master classes. I mean, all over the place. And it's a great, great thing. You want to be active and performing and growing in your craft and your field and your work, just in general. But as strictly a freelancer, it's very different. I feel like I'm more, I guess, in control in a way, in a lot of ways. I think sometimes it can feel like when people are just strictly freelancing or just doing that type of work, I think sometimes people feel like they can get in a rut, or they can feel like there are no opportunities for them, or they're getting overlooked, or potentially unappreciated. I think, but for me, in my mind, it. I mean, sometimes I feel that too. I think that's totally valid, and there are times when I always go back to hearing actors, saying, you can't just sit by your phone and wait for it to ring,
Right.
So that always kind of is permeating in my mind. Like I can't really forget that that idea, that concept, and I think just kind of feeling like the sky is the limit in a way, like you don't really have any limitations. It's very helpful. When I think of doing things, and I think when other people think of doing things, like I've heard a lot of people talk about, I have this great idea, but I'm not sure, if it's gonna, I just don't know how to make it happen, or something like that. And a lot of it is just making a phone call, sending an email, talking to this person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, I think there are so many opportunities, and it's almost limitless, but it's just kind of learning to step forward with the idea that you have, whatever idea that is. And I'll even extend that to even social media, which is an odd type of thing, but when I first started posting pictures, of my work on social media, I would run into people who would kind of shun that type of thing and make it seem like people who did that were full of themselves, and like, who did they think they were to, you know, like feel like they had a right almost to, you know, self-promote.
Yeah, well, actually, I like this word, self-promote. So there's probably a lot of freelancers listening. Like, what is one thing you've done that's been self-promoting that like landed you a really cool gig?
Oh gosh,
Just one really cool gig that you think came, or you know came from something you did self-promoting.
that's a really good question. Really good question.
Hey.
So,
I mean, in my head, I can think of so many things that I think that you've done. Like, so, I mean, can I throw out a couple?
Oh, yeah,
okay, sure.
go for it.
When you were in New York, playing with ICE, right? Is that the name?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
oh,
First tell them what ICE is if they don't know.
Oh, okay. International Contemporary Ensemble.
Okay, and then was that a gig that you got from self-promoting, or how do you land something like that?
You know, I think honestly it all kind of works together.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it is self-promoting. I had connections with people who work, you know, in ICE, and also people who knew people who worked in ICE. You know, like Rebecca Heller and I had met before, and she's just amazing. You know? So when I got the call for that, you know, and anyway, I'm like kind of remembering back. I was just like, what?
Right. But it doesn't come from nothing.
No.
I think people don't realize that.
Yeah. And so it wasn't just the self-promoting. It wasn't just the social media, you know, advertising or whatever you want to call it. Presence, I'll call it. Wasn't just that, but that definitely had something to do with it.
Right.
And actually, I've run into other instances, like definitely, okay, I think that was one of them, but also teaching opportunities, some summer teaching opportunities, where someone that I knew from before, who I'd worked with before but hadn't seen in a very long time, and then they knew, you know, of my work, and we were connected through social media, and they saw me working.
Right.
So
say that again, Maya.
they saw me working.
They saw her working. If you're not working, nobody can hire you.
Right.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they don't see that as well. So that was huge actually for me, because it was an opportunity for, you know, that came through them seeing me active.
I like that.
Active.
You need to be active.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maya, we always ask everybody, what is your hobby? What is yours? What do you do besides play bassoon?
Oh gosh.
So many things. Come on.
So yeah.
Which one?
So I love music, and I feel like a lot of what I do kind of revolves around music, you know, and actually I really like watching TV too.
Watching TV. We'll take it. It's important.
Yeah.
So hey, Maya, it's been great
Oh
having
wait,
you
no,
today.
that can't be it. Okay, I'll give
well,
another one.
Well,
Salsa. I like to dance
She
salsa.
likes salsa. Confessions. That's a whole other episode.
Okay. All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Maya, tell them where they can find you.
Oh, yeah, sure. So you can find me on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, both Maya Stone Music Studio. I'm also on Twitter, but I don't do a lot of activity that much there.
That's good.
Yeah, so please come visit my page. Please follow me on Instagram, and and watch my stuff on Facebook and all that good stuff. And and I just want to say also how honored I am to
girl,
be
we
doing
don't got
this.
time for all that.
I love watching her and Martin. I just think their videos are fabulous.
Okay, we're running out of time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here, guys. See you later.